Hey everyone, and welcome back to another round of My Patriot Report Live. I am the bridge between the next generation in the federal contracting, the protege, Ratwan Hill, and that is Mr. Walter Cotton III, the individual responsible for helping the service-disabled veteran community move their contract needle from 750 million to well past 19 billion. The individual who co-authored the legislation that you know as the All Small Business Mentor Protege Program, and the president of the Elite SDVOSB Network. Mr. Cotton, how's it going, man?
It is going well, my friend. It's going well. I cannot complain on a chilly Friday in Long Island.
Yeah. I saw that in New York. It was like 1 degrees or something like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, we have a definitely a very interesting weather anomaly that we're dealing with.
We got a whole bunch of anomalies going on, not just what I thought 2025 was crazy, but this year seemed that this might take the cake.
I think that we have some bizarro movements going on out there. And, I know that we're trying to stay, hyper focused on the government contracting thing and the opportunities that, that represents for our disabled veterans, especially given part of the announcement that I think we'll maybe tease people with today. But, we've got some bizarro things going on when we have a leadership that makes statements that are in direct contradiction to settled constitutional authority, right? I literally heard the president of these United States of America say that it wasn't appropriate for an American citizen to carry a gun. And I'm not certain what constitutional foundation you're operating from, but I think that the Second Amendment is part of the reason why we enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy right now, because when the British came over, we had guns.
Exactly.
So I'm just looking at the bizarro communication that's coming out of, these different lanes and areas. And I, as an educated patriot, I'm clutching the pearls, right? I'm clutching the pearls when I hear people talking about nationalizing elections. Homie, because that does not sound democratic to me. And so I'm kind of putting together a quiet effort to vitalize that first branch of government, which is we the people. And I want to raise their level of education to the level that I'm at, where I understand that I have the power, right? As a citizen of these United States of America, right, I have the power to determine how my elected officials support and respond to my interests. And whenever those actions get unwieldy, I have the authority to change the people that are in place. And somehow our elected officials, along with our mainstream media, has lost their moorings. They've lost, right, their understanding of that fact, right? And so I'm gonna calm down a little bit, because I see this as a major threat to the freedoms that we enjoy in these United States of America. Dare I say, we are in a battle for the soul of this nation. But I digress.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the topic at hand. Things are a little crazy right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I like to use Friday to focus on the veterans. And there were some bills that was passed that within the last couple of weeks that was directly affected veterans in overall. So what I want to start with first was yesterday, the VA released its annual suicide prevention report using the data from through 2023. And like I said earlier, Congress has been passing and introducing bills that seems like it's going to, pretty much reshape housing, training, and accountability within the veteran community. So I want to start with some facts from the VA Suicide Prevention Report. There was 6,398 veteran suicides in 2023. It was a slight decrease. The previous number was like 6,400 and something. And that equates to 17 and a half veterans per day that took their life. And what I found very interesting was that the highest risk was
Did you say 17 and a half veterans per day?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
They're only 24 hours in a day, right? At those numbers, at that rate of attrition, we're losing more veterans, we're losing more citizens to suicides than any conflict that we've ever experienced. Mm-hmm. And so from my point of view or perspective, we got a problem.
And on that, and what was an even bigger surprise to me was that the highest risk was from 18 to 34. That's my generation. That's my age group. And that was that, and it was mostly veterans dealing with pain, housing instability, and life stress. And the common theme was over half of them had no recent contact within the VA. So my question was to you, when you have all that data of veterans who committed suicide and who weren't connected to the VA and a very young generation, what are the indicators you are gathering from that?
When you say what are the indicators I'm gathering from that, I'm trying to get my arms around the question. If you're asking what are the causal factors,
like where's the system breaking down at to where those are the numbers that's the reality of the numbers?
That's a complex question, man. If I could answer that in one, soliloquy, I'd be rich already, right? Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is there are multiple levers and components that lead to a person having that level of depression where they see exiting life as more desirable to continuing life. And when I'm speaking in this particular tone and from this particular perspective, I'm speaking from experience, not speaking from something that somebody told me about. I'm speaking from experience. And so what I can add to that dialogue is the fact that giving a person that's in that state of mind a glimmer of hope, right? The idea that there is a rainbow, forget the pot, right? The concept that light that they're seeing at the dark tunnel of depression that they may be stuck in, right, isn't a train. It's something of plausibility, something worth pursuing. And that's what has to be interjected into the mind. That's what has to be interjected into the emotional stream of a person that is experiencing those kinds of challenges, irrespective of their station in life, right? Whether they're a veteran or a civilian. But from our veterans' perspective, who may have on board some unique traumas, right? Some unique experiences that your average citizen just don't get a chance to enjoy or interface with. Those individuals suffer from a whole different set of considerations and conditions because they kind of, I think, on some levels may feel a disenfranchisement that the average citizen doesn't experience. And what do I mean by that? The veteran signs up and pledges an oath to a country that commits to protect and take care of him and her who bore the battle when they come home. And when they come home, and they don't have the adequate services, right? They don't have the adequate support systems, right? To, pull that last string on the motor to get their civilian motor running so that they can participate, in the economy, in the communities that they're in. They feel, what word am I want to use? They feel as if someone gave them a bait and switch. I'm looking for a word there. They feel as if there's a disingenuous action that has happened there, because they delivered against their side of the bargain, right? They signed up and they put themselves in harm's way, and they pledged everything to include up and through their life in defense of this nation, for a bargain where the nation said, when you come back, we got you back. When you come back, we're going to take care of you and your family, right? And so veterans that are experiencing housing insecurity or food insecurity or healthcare insecurity, right, wake up one day with a chip on their shoulder that's the size of the Statue of Liberty. And they wonder where this great nation that promised to care for them is in this season of need. And so I think that what we can do is kind of look at those systems that are designed to support our veterans and see where all of the pots of opportunism are. And they're in there: rent a vet, right? Pimp a vet, exploit a vet, right? And get them out of our system. Yep. Right? That's the first thing that we need to do. We need to identify the bad actors and the opportunism, get them out of our system. And we know who they are, and some of them are our friends, right? That's the first thing that we need to do, right? And then we need to go back and take a look at the systems that we're investing in and make sure that those systems have been updated for today's new normal. I mean, AI has changed the job, employment, right, future trajectory of everything, right? So how is the transition assistance program that we're delivering to veterans that are transitioning out of service, how is that keeping up to pace with equipping these veterans to be able to navigate, right, the kind of environment and circumstance that they're dealing with? And so on this particular question of veteran suicide, we do have a complex set of issues and challenges that we have to address, but I think that we have a simple solution. Hope floats in this environment, right? Giving that veteran an opportunity in that dark 12th hour to make that one extra decision. That one extra decision is the difference between that number going from 22 to 17, 22 a day, that's where we're at, to 17 and a half a day down to 0 versus 22 to 17 to 35 or
right.
60.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and we have the ability to impact that, but we gotta engage. We gotta have the real conversations, right? You know, not just the thank you for your service, touchy-feely conversations. We gotta have the real conversations. Like, one of the conversations we need to have in this area is how this blight of suicide is impacting our ability to recruit new soldiers in support of future conflicts. Because I'm not sure who said it, but I'll paraphrase here, they said that the rate at which future generations will serve in the defense of this nation, irrespective of the conflict, is directly proportionate to how they've seen previous generations of veterans being treated. And so if we got a 18 to 30 demo that's checking out, right? That's the demo that we need to defend ourselves in the new battlefield, right? You know, the conflict is gone from, physical to drone. Yeah. Right. It's an intellectual battle, right? It's technology superiority. It's military might by technological advantage. And guess what? I'm not the guy you call to program the VCR. He is. Right. That's the generation. And if that generation is coming to the table in a podcast that he has the autonomy to decide what the subject matter is going to be, and he throws veteran suicide as the top issue, we need to pay attention. And Mr. Hill, I apologize for getting on this soapbox and rant here. Let me give you back your microphone.
No, that was perfect, because To that point, and you said a lot of things that I wanted to dive into, because you mentioned housing stability as and even in the suicide prevention report, that was one of the considerations. And they passed the Disabled Veteran Housing Support Act, HR 224, which essentially, at one point in time, they have HUD-VASH, which is pretty much the voucher that it's the Section 8 for disabled veterans. It's the housing voucher that disabled veterans could use to, eliminate that housing instability. Now, the problem with it was that disabled veterans, they counted their disability compensation that they receive from the VA as income. But what this does now is it eliminates that. So my question is, in your experience, what happens to training, employment, or entrepreneurship when housing isn't stable?
It goes out the window. Right? It goes out the window. Like, how are you going to do training when you have no confidence in where your child is going to lay his or her head that night? I mean, we got to take a look at the kind of obstacle course that we're asking our veterans to run, and ask ourselves the question, can we do better? I think the answer to the question is yes, right? And so you're talking about the entrepreneurial side of the equation, and I like to lean on that side of the equation, because I think that that's the solution path, right? That's the solution path for our veterans, not to have to wait for the government to figure something else out. And we ask them for permission. We have an opportunity now to take control, rack and pinion steering on the opportunity foundation within these United States of America, and create our own pathway to benefits. And I hope Mr. Hill gives me an opportunity to talk about that in a few minutes.
Yes, sir. Actually, yeah, that was a good segue into the next act that was passed, which was the Fast Vets Act, HR 4446, which is essentially the VNRE plan, have an individualized written rehabilitation plan component to it. Now, once veterans, now if something changes within your disability, or your ability to perform the job or training that you're going for the employment, at a point in time, it was just, that was what it was. So if that was what you had to, if that was in your plan, that's the plan you had to stick to. What this act does now is allow veterans to change based off of the circumstances within their disability and employment, and especially in this season, where we see a bunch of employment instability, AI coming into play. So most people are losing jobs. How damaging is it when veterans are locked into plans that no longer match their reality?
Back to your question about veteran suicide, right? I mean, it's one of the contributing factors to the hopelessness, right? That leads to a challenged state of mind that ultimately results in the outcome that we don't want. And so I want to give a shout out to what I'm going to be referring to as my new friends over at the VR&E program. They've got some new leadership over there and a new undersecretary. They've got some new leadership over there in the form of a director of the program. And I can tell you these individuals are veteran first. They're veteran friendly, and they're leaving no stone unturned to make sure that that program, which is the crown jewel of skill set enhancement for our disabled veterans, serves in every area that it was designed to serve in. And Mr. Hill has developed a program for those of you that are trying to get VR&E certified. You need to get that guy's email address and talk to him about helping you get through the gauntlet, because there is the academic track that pays for education all the way through a law degree, right? As a matter of fact, Congress Min Van Orden used VRNE to get his law degree, right? So it pays through the academic side of the equation, getting you where you need to be retooled in that area. There's a apprenticeship, on the job OJT kind of program that they offer as well. I don't know why I'm trying to describe this. Mr. Hill knows it better than I. What are the different tracks they have under the VRNE program? Let you tell them.
Yes, sir. So they have five different tracks. They have the independent living track. They have the educational track, the self-employment track. They have the non-paid work experience, on-the-job training, and apprenticeship tracks. So those are the different tracks that they have. And like I said, the most underutilized one and probably the most beneficial one is that VNRE self-employment track, which has that $50,000 that or more that you could get. You just have to go higher up to get approved, which is no problem if you're part of the elite SDVOSB network, where you can use to fund your business. And we know that that's like the biggest problem for entrepreneurs, especially for our community and the veteran community as well, that having the money for your business is essential. So hold
on a minute, man. So what you're telling me is that if I'm a disabled veteran, there is a program out there that will give me, right off the top of the key, $50,000 to support my entrepreneurial interest. Is that accurate?
Well, $49,999 to be exact. 50,000 more, you got to get approved higher up. So let me be technical so the audience don't discount us.
So okay, let me ask the question in a technical way. So what you're telling me is that I, as a disabled veteran, can go and sit down and have a conversation with the intake counselor at the VRNE program. And if they come up with a self-employment correction plan for me, I'll just call it that for lack of a better word, that first level counselor can approve up to $49,999 on the spot without getting any approval above his or her pay grade.
Yes, sir.
And so that suggests that if I have a concept or idea that required a little something above the $49,999, that there's a pathway within the VRNE program for me to get funding for it.
Absolutely.
Shut your mouth, man. What you say?
Hey. And what I've seen, and even the comments on my, on the YouTube and TikTok, everybody, I'm seeing the same thing. We have a self-employment track, but my counselor pushes me down the employment track. Now, this is the common theme I'm getting under comments from everybody else that looking to get in the VNRE. So clearly it's a systematic issue.
And I want to address that, because that's a true statement, right? There is a cultural propensity to lean towards the academic track. And I know that. I'm a VRNE graduate myself. I use the academic track. And I will tell you that the VRNE program understands the entrepreneurial or self-employment track needs some attention. They have been looking for a pathway that would allow them to test the viability of that track. Because, you can imagine the government doesn't want to waste taxpayer dollars on Jimbo and them who want to, get the rebar cutting business up and running that may never work, right? Mm-hmm. And so the VA and the VRNE program is hyper-focused on supporting programs and systems that will have sustainment and foundation. And I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. The VRNE program has gotten together with my VSO and my pilot for the self-employment track, right? And we're going to take 60 veterans and we are going to run them through this self-employment track. And Mr. Hill and I will give you some information on how you become counted among that number.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's huge, man. Cause now disabled veterans who, couldn't necessarily afford to, pay attention and get this information that is much needed. Now, every disabled veteran who qualifies for VRE can now learn the Cotton Method, which is responsible for over $19 billion in federal contracts for that service disabled veteran community. Now you get to take part of this $1.3 trillion wealth transfer, where service disabled veterans read the hottest thing on the street right now.
Mr. Hill, my mama taught me a lesson when I was a little boy that I think we can use here. And she said, baby, what you tell someone with two black eyes? And I said, I don't know, Ma. She said nothing, because you done already told them twice. So I don't think we need to continue beating that particular drum for the veterans that have been listening to us, right? Mm-hmm. The opportunity is there. It's a very rarefied opportunity for a small number of veterans to get through this first cohort. You can go and look at what we did at Morgan State University. You can look at what we've done historically. That ain't nothing in comparison to what we're about to do. So pop out to either this URL you see moving across the screen, or send Mr. Hill an email and request an opportunity to be reviewed for the next cohort. Yeah, you want to be a part of that.
Absolutely. And is one more thing that I want to discuss, because that was a good point, good place to end it. But this was something I found interesting. There was a bill introduced by Chairman Morin and ranking member Mr. Blumenthal in regards to the National Veteran Strategy Act of 2026. So essentially, they're looking to create ultimately a strategy that's going to hold the government accountable for how they treat veterans, work with veterans, and essentially build the stability of veterans, because they in the act, in the bill, it states that veteran stability is a national interest. So they see they understand that veterans being stable in all forms is essential to the government. It's essential to the United States. If veteran success becomes a measured national outcome, how does that change which programs survive and which doesn't?
Well, you use that magical pivotal word, if.
Yeah.
And I've been around the political process long enough to know a real political interest from a head fake.
Oh, okay.
Right now, we're getting a lot of head fakes and very little real political interest. So these are people that are trying to curry favor from the veteran community for an upcoming election, whether it be the midterm or it be the 2028 election. I, for one, have seen them pass bills that they haven't held the agencies to account for, right? That's why we still don't have a veteran-owned contracting goal nationwide, even though the SBA administrator since 1970, has had the authority since way back when, right? And so I, for one, I played the political game. I've testified, I've written legislation, I've sat down and I've talked to them, and I'm breaking the cycle of insanity, right? I'm breaking the cycle of insanity because it ain't working. Mm-hmm. And what we need right now is we need that first branch of government. I started talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and this is growing in my spirit. We need that first branch of government to have its voice delivered into the political, the legal, right, and the policy board meetings. And I'm creating a mechanism so that the government the powers that be, federal, state, and local, can hear what we're saying. And what I mean by that is I understand the game, right? It's a divide and conquer game, right? As long as they have you out there thinking that you are an individual citizen, they've usurped your power. But once you realize that you are a citizen of these United States of America, which provides you certain inalienable rights that people of other countries don't have, your understanding changes. Your ability to collect in a voting block that allows you to manage the interest of your district, irrespective of what redlining and gerrymandering they did, is a right that accrues to we the people, right? Just like that district in Texas, right? Historically Republican district, the first branch of government raised its head in that election and made a statement. Mm-hmm. I'm positioning assets across these United States of America that will deliver first branch messaging into this upcoming election. And I'm going to say this to those that are listening, because I know y'all a little bit scary. No, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to attract any attention.
Gotcha.
You heard what I said.
Hey, yes, sir. So, hey, y'all need to get behind the movement, and that's all I have for you guys. I'm Ratwan Hill, and that is the Mr. Walter Cotton III. Until next time, guys, we're out.